Introduction. The key to building or starting a successful business is effective management and discipline. Unfortunately, many entrepreneurs have approached these practices from the wrong angle, leading to chaos and failure. While modern management and technology have made it easier to become an entrepreneur, there is still a lack of orderly management examples for new innovative ventures. The lean startup method attempts to address these issues by adapting the concept of root cause, which aims to differentiate between value creation and waste in terms of resources, time, passion, and skill of people. By building quality products from the inside out, entrepreneurs can make testable predictions and discover and eliminate sources of waste. The lean startup method involves two key ideas for entrepreneurship: judging progress differently from traditional ventures and using scientific learning to validate progress. By adjusting plans through the build, measure, learn feedback loop, entrepreneurs can effectively balance acquiring new customers and serving existing ones. Starting a business begins with a vision, followed by a strategy that may encounter setbacks. These setbacks provide an opportunity to learn and improve for better results. Every entrepreneur, big or small, shares the common trait of acquiring new customers and serving existing ones. The challenge lies in balancing both effectively. In summary, effective management and discipline are crucial for building or starting a successful business. The lean startup method adapts the concept of root cause to differentiate between value creation and waste and build quality products from the inside out. By judging progress differently and using scientific learning, entrepreneurs can balance acquiring new customers and serving existing ones. The key to success is to have a clear vision, adapt to setbacks, and continually improve for better results. Key point 1. An entrepreneur is someone who creates a new business or product, either independently or with the support of a government agency, profit or nonprofit company, or financial investors. They focus on establishing the necessary structure for startup teams within established organizations. However, a startup is not just about a product, technological breakthrough, or idea. It is a human institution designed to create a new product or service under conditions of extreme uncertainty. Startups often utilize existing technologies in innovative ways and may take their products or services to new locations to confront these uncertainties. Key point 2. In a startup, learning is crucial for entrepreneurial innovation to thrive. It is important to learn the strategies that will help realize your vision and understand what customers truly want, rather than just what they say they want. It is also essential to evaluate whether the path you are on will lead to a sustainable business. Validated learning is the process of demonstrating, based on experience, that a team has not only present but also future business prospects that are not only accurate but also faster and more brilliant. Lean thinking defines value as providing benefit to the customer, with anything else considered a waste. This is because in manufacturing businesses, customers only care about whether the product works perfectly, not how it is assembled. Learning is essential for progress in a startup because feedback from customers can lead to positive improvement. By continuously learning and adapting based on customer feedback, startups can create products and services that truly meet their customers' needs and build sustainable businesses. Key point 3. Experimentation is a crucial part of the lean startup philosophy, and each effort is considered an experiment to test a hypothesis based on the startup's vision. The founder of Zappos, Nick Swinburne, started his experiment with the hypothesis that customers were willing to buy shoes online. To test this, he took pictures of inventory in local shoe stores and came back to buy the shoes at full price if a customer bought them online. This experiment allowed Zappos to observe, interact with, and learn from real customers and partners, which is referred to as qualitative testing. The lean startup model tests two hypotheses: the value hypothesis and the growth hypothesis. The value hypothesis tests whether the product or service delivers value to customers, and experimentation provides a more accurate gauge. The growth hypothesis tests how new customers will discover the product or service. In the lean startup model, an experiment is not just a theoretical inquiry, but the first product, allowing the manager to start enlisting adopters early, add more employees for further experimentation, and start building a product. By breaking down the grand vision into its component parts, startups can replicate this model to positively impact their growth. Once the product is ready, it will have established customers, solve a problem, and offer detailed specifications for what needs to be built. Experimentation is integral to the lean startup philosophy, and each effort is considered an experiment to test a hypothesis based on the startup's vision. The Zappos example shows that experimentation allows startups to observe and interact with real customers and partners, leading to qualitative testing. The lean startup model tests the value hypothesis and growth hypothesis, using experimentation as the first product to enlist adopters early and start building a product. By breaking down the grand vision into its component parts, startups can replicate this model to positively impact their growth and solve problems for their customers. Key point 4. The core of the lean startup model is the build, measure, learn feedback loop. A startup takes an idea and turns it into a product, which generates feedback and data when customers come into contact with it. This feedback can be qualitative, what they like and don't like, or quantitative, how many people used it and found it valuable. The techniques used in this loop help minimize the time it takes to get feedback from customers. The growth hypothesis is an essential part of the lean startup model, as it helps startups figure out the right questions to ask. Every business plan starts with a set of assumptions that show how to achieve the company's vision. Comparing to other companies and industries can help discover assumptions that are leaps of faith. However, the ability to differentiate between what works brilliantly and what does not is what sets successful entrepreneurs apart. The value creation hypothesis and growth hypothesis are crucial in understanding whether a new product or service is fundamentally value creating or value destroying. Gathering facts about customers, markets, suppliers, and channels is essential and requires extensive contact with potential customers to understand them. This process confirms the leap of faith and helps build an accurate customer archetype. There are many techniques for building an accurate customer archetype, such as interaction design or design thinking, developed over years of practice in the design community. It is essential to get out of your chair and get to know potential customers to gather the necessary information. The build, measure, learn feedback loop is central to the lean startup model, which involves turning an idea into a product that generates feedback and data from customers. The growth hypothesis helps startups figure out the right questions to ask and differentiate between assumptions that work brilliantly and those that do not. The value creation hypothesis and growth hypothesis are crucial in understanding whether a new product or service is fundamentally value creating or value destroying. Gathering facts about customers, markets, suppliers, and channels requires extensive contact with potential customers to build an accurate customer archetype. Techniques such as interaction design or design thinking can be helpful in this process. Ultimately, it is essential to get out and meet potential customers to gather the necessary information and confirm the leap of faith. Key point 5. The first product of a startup does not need to be perfect. The goal is to start the process of learning as quickly as possible, which is why the lean startup method emphasizes the minimum viable product. The minimum viable product is not necessarily the smallest product imaginable, but rather the fastest way to get through the build, measure, learn feedback loop with the least amount of effort. The lean startup method is not opposed to building high-quality products, but it prioritizes winning over customers. Contrary to traditional product development that involves a long incubation period and strives for product perfection, the goal of the MVP is to begin the process of learning, not end it. The MVP is designed to test fundamental business hypotheses, not just answer product design or technical questions. It is just the first step in a journey of learning. To figure out if a startup is making progress and achieving validated learning, a disciplined, systematic approach is necessary. This is where system innovation accounting comes in, which is an alternative to traditional accounting designed specifically for startups. In summary, the lean startup method prioritizes learning as quickly as possible and emphasizes the minimum viable product to start the process. The MVP is designed to test fundamental business hypotheses and is just the first step on the journey of learning. System innovation accounting provides a disciplined, systematic approach for startups to track progress and achieve validated learning. Key point 5. The first product of a startup does not need to be perfect. The goal is to start the process of learning as quickly as possible, which is why the lean startup method emphasizes the minimum viable product. The minimum viable product is not necessarily the smallest product imaginable, but rather the fastest way to get through the build, measure, learn feedback loop with the least amount of effort. The lean startup method is not opposed to building high-quality products, but it prioritizes winning over customers. Contrary to traditional product development that involves a long incubation period and strives for product perfection, the goal of the MVP is to begin the process of learning, not end it. The MVP is designed to test fundamental business hypotheses, not just answer product design or technical questions. It is just the first step in a journey of learning. To figure out if a startup is making progress and achieving validated learning, a disciplined, systematic approach is necessary. This is where system innovation accounting comes in, which is an alternative to traditional accounting designed specifically for startups. In summary, the lean startup method prioritizes learning as quickly as possible and emphasizes the minimum viable product to start the process. The MVP is designed to test fundamental business hypotheses and is just the first step on the journey of learning. System innovation accounting provides a disciplined, systematic approach for startups to track progress and achieve validated learning. Key point 7. One of the biggest challenges for entrepreneurs is deciding when to pivot and when to persevere in developing a successful product. Pivots are a permanent part of any growing business, even after achieving initial success. However, pivots come in different flavors and should not be confused with generic changes. A pivot is a specific type of change that tests a new fundamental hypothesis about the product, business model, and engine of growth. Types of pivots include zoom-in pivot, zoom-out pivot, customer segment pivot, customer need pivot, platform pivot, business architecture pivot, value capture pivot, engine of growth pivot, channel pivot, and technological pivot. Innovation accounting can lead to faster pivots by providing a systematic approach to testing hypotheses and tracking progress. A startup's runway will determine the number of pivots it can make, and it requires courage to make necessary changes. Learning to steer requires slowing down, but a startup must also learn how to accelerate. Deciding when to pivot and when to persevere is a significant challenge for entrepreneurs. Pivots are a permanent part of growing businesses, and they come in different flavors. Innovation accounting can lead to faster pivots by providing a systematic approach to testing hypotheses. A startup's runway will determine the number of pivots it can make, and it requires courage to make necessary changes. Learning to steer requires slowing down, but a startup must also learn how to accelerate. Key point 8. Lean startups understand the power of small batches, which can help minimize the risk of creating something that nobody wants while also avoiding ceding market leadership to a fast follower by releasing a product too early. To combat the extreme uncertainty that is a startup's chief enemy, startups need organizational structures that promote agility, learning orientation, and a culture of innovation. With the proper foundation, lean startups can grow to become lean enterprises that maintain these qualities even as they scale. Just as lean manufacturing has pursued a just-in-time approach to building products, reducing the need for in-process inventory, lean startups practice just-in-time scalability by conducting product experiments without making massive upfront investments in planning and design. Working in small batches ensures that a startup can minimize the expenditure of time, money, and effort that ultimately turn out to have been wasted. When work proceeds in stages, the batch size determines how much work moves from one stage to the next at a time. Single-piece flow, where the batch size is 1, is easier to manage and helps identify problematic areas more quickly than larger batch sizes. Shigeo Shingo created the concept of SMED, single minute exchange of die, to enable smaller batch sizes of work in early Toyota factories. He relentlessly rethought the way machines were operated, reducing changeover times that previously took hours to less than 10 minutes. Every investment in better tools and processes had a corresponding benefit in terms of shrinking the batch size of work. Lean startups understand the power of small batches in minimizing risk and avoiding ceding market leadership to fast followers. Organizational structures that promote agility, learning orientation, and a culture of innovation are crucial for startups to combat extreme uncertainty. Just-in-time scalability helps startups conduct product experiments without massive upfront investments. Single-piece flow and the concept of SMED enable smaller batch sizes of work, making it easier to identify problematic areas and minimize wasted time, money, and effort. Ultimately, working in small batches is a key strategy for lean startups to achieve success. Key point 9. As startups add new customers and discover new markets, there are certain metrics they should use to understand their growth. Sustainable growth follows a simple rule: new customers come from the actions of past customers. This occurs through word of mouth, funded advertising, repeat purchase or use, or as a side effect of product usage. These sources of sustainable growth power feedback loops called engines of growth. The faster the loop turns, the faster the company will grow. Sustainable growth follows one of three engines of growth: paid, viral, or sticky. By identifying which engine of growth a startup is using, it can then direct energy where it will be most effective in growing the business. Each engine of growth requires a focus on unique metrics to evaluate the success of new products and prioritize new experiments. For example, the sticky engine of growth has a 61% retention rate of old customers and a 39% growth rate of new customers. If the rate of new customer acquisition exceeds the churn rate, the product will grow. The viral engine of growth relies on the use of the product by customers to drive growth, so companies using this engine must focus on increasing the viral coefficient. Even tiny changes in this number can cause dramatic changes in future prospects. The paid engine of growth is powered by a feedback loop that takes into account the lifetime value, LTV, of the customer. By combining these metrics with innovation, startups can identify weak links in their growth and fortify those areas. It is important for startups to focus on the engine of growth they are utilizing, as each requires a different set of metrics and priorities to achieve sustainable growth. Key point 10. Investing in the right amount of process is essential for keeping teams nimble as they grow and building an adaptive organization. Certain techniques from the Lean Manufacturing Toolkit, such as the 5 Whys, can help startup teams grow without becoming bureaucratic or dysfunctional. The 5 Whys is an investigative method that involves asking the question, why? 5 times to understand the root cause of a problem. This approach can help tie investments directly to the prevention of the most problematic symptoms. To build an adaptive organization, it is important to make a proportional investment at each of the 5 levels of the hierarchy, with smaller investments for minor symptoms and larger investments for more painful symptoms. Adaptive processes force startups to slow down and invest in preventing the kinds of problems that are currently wasting time. As these preventive efforts pay off, startups can naturally speed up again. The 5 Whys acts as a natural speed regulator by tying the rate of progress to learning, not just execution. Startup teams should go through the 5 Whys whenever they encounter any kind of failure, including technical faults, failures to achieve business results, or unexpected changes in customer behavior. This approach can help startups transition into an established company driven by operational excellence. By investing in infrastructure or process, startups can reduce the severity and number of crises, allowing the team to speed up again. Investing in the right amount of process is essential for building an adaptive organization. The 5 Whys is a useful tool for tying investments directly to the prevention of problematic symptoms and understanding the root cause of a problem. To build an adaptive organization, startups should make proportional investments at each level of the hierarchy and focus on preventing problems that are currently wasting time. As preventive efforts pay off, startups can naturally speed up again. The 5 Whys approach acts as a natural speed regulator by tying the rate of progress to learning, not just execution. By going through the 5 Whys whenever they encounter any kind of failure, startups can transition into an established company driven by operational excellence. By investing in infrastructure or process, startups can reduce the severity and number of crises, allowing the team to speed up again. Ultimately, Startups that use the 5 Whys approach can build an adaptive organization that can grow without becoming bureaucratic or dysfunctional. Key point 11. As startups transition into established companies, they face pressures that require them to invest in disruptive innovation. However, conventional wisdom often wins out over innovation, creativity, and growth in larger companies. The advantage of successful startups is that they can maintain their entrepreneurial DNA even as they mature. Balancing the needs of existing customers with finding new customers is a constant challenge for startups. Portfolio thinking is a way to avoid complacency and lethargy. Companies must learn to manage a portfolio of sustainable and disruptive innovation. The view that startups go through discrete phases and leave innovation behind is obsolete. Instead, modern companies must excel at doing multiple kinds of work in parallel. By investing in disruptive innovation, established companies can continue to grow and stay competitive. As startups become established companies, they must invest in disruptive innovation to stay competitive. Portfolio thinking is crucial to managing a balance between existing and new customers. Maintaining entrepreneurial DNA is an advantage of successful startups. Companies must excel at doing multiple kinds of work in parallel and avoid the view that innovation is left behind as companies mature. By investing in disruptive innovation, established companies can continue to grow and stay competitive. Key point 12. The lean startup movement should avoid rigid doctrines and ideology. If all employees were armed with lean startup organizational superpowers, assumptions would be stated explicitly and tested rigorously to discover the truth behind every project's vision. Arguments between quality defenders and reckless cowboys would be avoided, recognizing that speed and quality are allies in pursuing the customer's long-term benefit. Waste elimination would be pursued in service of agility and breakthrough results. Failures and setbacks would be met with honesty and learning rather than recriminations and blame. The impulse to slow down and indulge in prevention would be shunned in favor of achieving speed by bypassing excess work that does not lead to learning. The goal would be to create new institutions with a long-term mission to build sustainable value and change the world for the better. Above all, people's time would not be wasted. The key is to maintain a genuine desire to discover the truth behind every project's vision and to pursue speed and quality in service of the customer's long-term benefit. By eliminating waste, responding to failures and setbacks with honesty and learning, and focusing on creating sustainable value, organizations can achieve breakthrough results and change the world for the better. Conclusion. The lean startup movement has gained worldwide popularity, with lean startup meetup groups and online communities available for anyone interested in learning more about it. Startups and established companies must adapt to the realities of today's business world to succeed and avoid drowning. To get started with the lean startup model, there are several links provided in the book that readers can explore. By trying out the lean startup model, companies can increase their chances of success and achieve greatness.